Hello and welcome to a Socom tactical instructional video. Today we're going to be downgrading the King Arms M1 Carbine from the usual 450 FPS down to about 330 to 350 depending on your preference. Tools you'll need for this downgrade is a Phillips head screwdriver, medium-sized flathead screwdriver, a 2.5mm Allen key, a smaller tool just to poke a couple of pins out. Optional but not needed is a caliper set, just because we'll be measuring some gearbox shims, which you'll also need, just a small set of those, and some Loctite or any sort of adhesive that will work with metal. So let's get started. Right, so the first step of the disassembly process is we're going to go to the front of the rifle. So get your flathead screwdriver and just undo the barrel collar there. You can undo it part of the way and try and slide it off, but I find it's easier just to undo the whole screw. So if you remove that and then spread the barrel collar a little bit and slide off like that, and then remove the retention bar. There we go. Then flip the rifle on its top there, and then just slide this outer barrel or the bayonet locator off like that, and then remove the top of the wooden handguard. In this next step, you move a bit further up to more of the middle of the body. All you need to do to remove the upper receiver from the lower body is to undo this Phillips head screw here. Can be a bit stiff the first time you take it apart. There you go. Put that to one side and then just remove the upper receiver. Like that. You do need to unhook it at the back there. And that'll come out. Now we've got the upper receiver to do. Okay, for the first step in the upper receiver, all you need to do is push this little brass piece here. This can be a bit fiddly. And try and get that out. Unhook the spring guard from there. There you go. So keep this all together because it can be a bit difficult if all the pieces come off and you sort of lose where each one goes. Next, get your 2.5mm Allen key. There's a screw in here. There is one here, and there is one here as well. This one's the longer one because it goes through the entire receiver, whereas the other two are just helping to hold the top plate on. Yeah, I'll put those screws aside and keep them safe for now. Okay, so now the screws are all out. All you need to do to remove the top plate is gently push it like that. Slide the cocking handle off so it goes right to the front, and you should be able to take that off like that. And then gently lift it off. You might need to pull the nozzle back a bit. There we go. That's because it wasn't cocked, that's why. So you can put this entire section aside for a second, and then you'll just be left with this top plate here and the nozzle. So this can go away for a minute as well. So all you will need is the nozzle, and then we'll get in closer and show you how to do the downgrade. So now we have the nozzle assembly out of the body. You can remove the nozzle just by pulling it out like that. Be careful not to stretch this spring too much, but it's pretty decent. So on the nozzle itself you have two small pins here. This is what you need the small pokey tool for. So if you literally may take a bit of strength to poke it out, because there's a couple of grips on each one. There we go, so both sticking out like that. And you can either poke it all the way through if you've got a small enough tool, but I've picked the wrong size, so I'm just going to use my multi-tool to pull the pins out like that. Cool. Now they're removed, just give it a little shake and you'll get the rocket valve here, and this is what the shims are for. So I found on my personal one, I used 0.9mm shims. Of course, gearbox shim sets come in 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 and 0.4. So this is where I'd advise using the calipers just so you don't lose track. So we're going to start off with doing 0.9mm shims. All the ones we've done before, we've used 0.9mm or 1mm if it needs a bit more. Again, it depends on what CO2 you use. We test everything with Vulcan CO2 as we stock it the most, which is sort of in the higher power range of CO2 brands, along with Crossman as well. So let's get started on this valve. Right, so I've just measured these off camera, because in my set it appears I've only got the thick ones left, so I just had to grab another set. Yeah, so these all make up 0.9mm, and what we'll do is we'll glue them on. So if you've got a little bit less, don't worry, I'd suggest put a little bit less on first, put it all together, chrono it, just on the first two shots. If it's too high, disassemble it again and just put another one on, because it's always better just adding more rather than having to take some off. I mean, luckily with this glue it takes a little while to actually dry, so I've got enough time. If I do need to take some off, I can. So you just put a small dab of glue just on the base of the rocket valve there, like that, and then you take the first shim and literally just slide that on like that, and then just spin it around a little bit just to spread the glue about. So the next one, you're going to want to put the glue onto the shim like that, and then put the next one on like that. There we go, and then finally get the glue there, and then where have I just put that last shim? There it is. And then just slide that on, and again just sort of rotate it round. And then if you've got quick drying glue, I'd highly suggest wait for it to dry first, just in case when you fire it they can rattle about, because I did try this initially without the glue, and then all the shims just went missing eventually, so that's why we are gluing them on. So let that set for a minute and then we will put the nozzle back together. Okay, now you've got the shims glued onto the rocket valve, next step is to put the valve back into the nozzle. So if you grab your nozzle, place it back in like that, and use your Allen key just to press down, and you can see through the holes that it's got to go all the way down, and you've got to have like full clearance going in there. It can be a bit difficult with once you've got one pin in, because the other side wants to bow up, so putting pressure on one side to keep the whole thing down, and put that pin in there. I'm just going to use pliers to squeeze these back in. There you go, there's that. So if I let go of the valve, you can see through the bottom there is a tiny bit that I still need to push, so you still need to keep pressure on it. Try and get it central, just so your Allen key or whatever tool doesn't block the way, like I've just done. So I've got to part way in, but looking at the valve, there we go. There we go, that slides in nice and easy now. And then I'll just give it a little push. There we go, that clips in. So now you literally just stretch it back over like that. The handling of the nozzle, you might need to put a bit more lube on it, like I need to do on this one, and make sure the pins are all the way in as well, because I just felt a little grinding on the bolt there, and I think that one's not central. There we go. There you go, nice and smooth. Now I'll put the assembly all back together. So, in order to put it all back together, grab your upper, I guess, the upper part of the bolt with the rear sight on, and then you just need to put that in there like that. Make sure that runs smoothly as well. And then get the rest of the upper receiver like this. And then, yeah, make sure the hammer's cocked back down because it makes it a hell of a lot easier. And try and get both sides even. There we go, like that. So that's all on like that. We still need to put the cock and handle on. So the cock and handle, literally just hook it in like that, so it moves like this. And then the easiest way to do this is try and line up, I don't know how clearly you can see it, line up the Allen key bolt on the bolt itself, and then sort of lift this upper bolt part a little bit until it sort of hooks into place. Just takes a little bit of fiddling. There we go. So that is connected like that. And then next step, we're going to put the guide rod on. So the front of the cock and handle here, just get a bit of, pull the spring back a little bit and get a little bit of slack, just so you can press it in like this. Oh, not like that. And put the brass piece in here, and then connect that, and then you should have a bolt assembly like that. Next is the screws. So we're going to put the two small screws in the rear first. Doesn't matter which way you put it in, but just for ease, that's the first one I grabbed. And then the other side. And then the long bolt in here. Right, so you can't chrono test it like this because you do have the mag release and stuff here. It's just very awkward, and I wouldn't really advise it just in case something pings off and goes flying. I've done it a couple of times, but it sort of wasn't sure whether something was going to fly off or not. So to fully reassemble it, grab your lower receiver, get your upper receiver, sort of slot it in from the rear first, And then make sure the bayonet section is completely off the lower receiver initially. Just make sure that's all seated. And then next step is to put the Phillips head screw back into here to connect the two halves together. Sorry for all the banging and cluttering, it's a bit difficult with a camera in my way. There we go, so tighten that. Put the bayonet shroud on like that. And then you want to hook the upper wood segment. The disc. Hook the upper wood segment in there first. And then slide that on all the way. There we go. So my one, I do have a little bit of an annoying rattle on the top that I've got to sort out, but the newer versions seem to have solved that problem. Put the retention pin just there, and then you can put the barrel collar back on. Right. There we go. So that should slide over, put a bit of pressure on the pin, and there we go. That's locked in place. And then literally just close that as close as you can together, because it will help in trying to re-thread it. There we go. Once it's bitten, it's easy enough to do. There we go. So that's a full disassembly, downgrade mod, and reassembly of the King Arms M1 Carbine. There we go, so that's a full disassembly, downgrade mod and reassembly of the King Arms M1 Carbine. Now let's see the results. Right, here we are testing into the shooty box. Apologies for the bad lighting. One of our bulbs just went in the back room, so I only have a small LED light to go off. Right, so this is with 0.2 BVs on Vulcan CO2. 350 on the dot. 345, 342, 349, 340, 323, 312, 325, 305. Oh, and that's the end of the mag. So fairly high numbers, floating around the 330 to 350 mark. Which is good, and not too bad for a gas blowback in terms of consistency wise.